latest reports from the world's second largest continent. Hello, I'm Alison Lagrange. A very warm welcome from Durban, South Africa. We get you the news and the newsmakers from Africa. From elections to climate change to innovations and opportunities. As the world's attention shifts, we report from Africa, the heart of the global south. Join me every weekday live on First Post. Hello and welcome to First Post Africa, where we get you the top stories from the continent and from across the world. I'm Alison Lagrange, coming to you live from Durban, South Africa. First, let's take a look at the headlines. Air India CEO says probe into last month's Ahmedabad crash is far from over and calls it premature to conclude after report found engine fuel switches were turned off before the Boeing Dreamliner went down, killing 260. Iran warns it will respond to any reimposition of UN sanctions over its nuclear program after French diplomatic sources reportedly said European powers may reinstate them if no deal ensures their security interests. Syria deploys security forces in southern province of Sweden after clashes between Sunni tribes and the Druze fighters kill at least 89. It's the latest sectarian violence amid growing fears among minorities after Assad's fall last year. Spanish police arrest 8 after 3 nights of clashes between far-right groups and North African migrants in southeastern Spain, in one of the country's worst such flare-ups in recent years. And Bitcoin crosses $123,000 for the first time, as investors bet on possible policy breakthroughs for the crypto industry this week. Hello and welcome. We begin with developments from the Horn of Africa, where tensions between neighbouring Ethiopia and Somalia have reignited over a controversial port deal. This as Türkiye-mediated peace talks have stalled. Diplomats from both nations signal rising strains between Ethiopia and Somalia as their war of words over a Red Sea port agreement resumes. The deal in question was signed last year between Ethiopia and Somalia's breakaway region, Somaliland. Under the agreement, Ethiopia would gain access to Somaliland's strategic Berbera port, along with a 20-kilometre stretch of coastline. In return, Ethiopia would recognise Somaliland as a separate nation. Somalia, which considers Somaliland a part of its sovereign territory, condemned the deal as a gross violation of its integrity. The deal triggered a major diplomatic dispute as Somalia launched a campaign to block the deal. Türkiye, a close Somali ally, intervened to mediate, now leading to the signing of the Ankara Declaration in December last year. The declaration committed both sides to respect each other's sovereignty and territorial integrity, now to continue dialogue under Türkiye's mediation and to avoid hostile actions and pursue peaceful resolution. While seen as a diplomatic breakthrough, the declaration did not result in a final settlement, but now talks appear to have broken down. Earlier this month, Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed reasserted his government's position, calling access to the Red Sea essential for Ethiopia's economic future. He also called for an amicable solution with neighbouring states. In response, Somalia renewed its criticism of the port deal, describing it as a land grab, and urged the international community to step in. Amid these developments, Somali President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud has visited Turkey for talks with President Recep Tayyip Erdogan last week. Now, they reportedly discussed bilateral relations and regional stability. The breakdown of talks is a blow to Turkey's peacemaking efforts. Turkey had hoped that Ankara Declaration would serve as a model for future diplomatic engagement in Africa. Turkey continues to position itself as a key player in the region, seeking to expand its influence through mediation and strategic partnerships across the continent. But as tensions simmer and talks remain on hold, the future of peace in the Horn of Africa hangs in the balance, with Turkey's role as a regional mediator now facing a critical test. Now, for more on this, we have with us Sarah Cosati, a researcher at the University of Trieste. Thank you for being with us.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
So,
Turkey's position in the Horn of Africa is shaped by diplomatic presence, economic investment, and strategic partnerships. When Turkey aims at representing a neutral but influential actor within this region, and this became evident in January 2024 when Ankara offered to mediate tensions that escalated due to the Memorandum of Understanding between Ethiopia and Somaliland. Turkey so officially hosted talks between Somalia and Ethiopia, and with Somalia and Ethiopia in June 2024. And in this occasion, it underlined its willingness to diffuse tensions in an already volatile and conflict-marked region, which then led to the signing of the Ankara Declaration that was aforementioned. And this was described by the Turkish press as an historic agreement that aimed at strengthening Turkey's position as a mediator in the Horn of Africa. So, on what can Turkey leverage its position? The first is its deep ties with Somalia. So Turkey is one of Somalia's closest allies. It has been heavily investing and heavily present within this country since 2011, and it has currently its largest diplomatic complex in Mogadishu. At the same time, it has been also having long-standing relations with Ethiopia. So Turkey maintains diplomatic and economic ties with Ethiopia. It is a key investor within this country, and Ethiopia also avails of the transfer of Turkish military and technologies to promote investment projects and programs. So Turkey benefits from this position that it has a very rare position in which it has access and influence on both sides, and obviously also it benefits from a non-colonial legacy. So unlike Western actors, Turkey is viewed by many countries within this region as non-interventionist, a non-colonial party, and this obviously adds credibility to its position as a mediator. At the same time, obviously, Turkey has also been facing structural challenges in its efforts to mediate the dispute between Ethiopia and Somaliland, and this became clear in as the talks stalled in February 2025. And what have these challenges had to do with? First, Somalia's uncompromising stance on sovereignty. So Mogadishu continues to view this a memorandum of understanding as a violation to its sovereignty, and Ankara's close alignment to the Somali federal government obviously limits its ability to appear as a neutral actor, also at the eyes of Ethiopia and Somaliland, and also its ability to propose flexible frameworks that might be acceptable by all parties.
Yes. Now, Sarah, following President Erdogan's recent meeting with the Somali president, do you see a shift in Turkey's diplomatic approach? And what outcomes, if any, can we realistically expect from Ankara's involvement?
Well, President Erdogan's recent closed-door meeting with the Somali president was aimed at discussing both bilateral relations but also regional issues. And this suggests a measured but strategic recalibration of Turkey's diplomatic approach in the Horn of Africa, with potential impact on the Ethiopia, Somaliland, and Somalia triangle. In fact, during this meeting, Somalia and Turkey discussed territorial integrity, counterterrorism effort, but also the importance of regional cooperation. And this obviously signaled a more proactive and mediator posture on Turkey's behalf that moves from purely bilateral diplomacy to regional arbitration. And this might have effects on the short, medium, and long term. And obviously, Ankara marks a shift in Ankara's position, and it is aiming at moving from a supporter to a strategist in the Somalia-Ethiopia dispute, but also more broadly within the Horn of Africa region. And while a full resolution is unlikely in the short term, Ankara can realistically facilitate dialogue, de-escalation, and also foster cooperation, especially if it continues on this line of building trust on both parties.
Right. Sarah, thank you so much for being with us on Firstpost Africa.
Thank you very much.
Moving on to South Africa now, President Cyril Ramaphosa has suspended the country's police minister, Senzo Mchunu, with immediate effect over corruption allegations. Ramaphosa made the announcement in a televised speech to the nation. In his speech, the president said that the allegations against Mchunu, which include interference in investigations into political killings and corruption within law enforcement agencies, call for an urgent and comprehensive investigation. Ramaphosa said the Judicial Commission, led by the country's Deputy Chief Justice, would examine all the claims. He said that the Commission will also investigate current and former police officials, as well as members of the National Executive.
In order for the Commission to execute its functions effectively, I have decided to put the Minister of Police, Mr. Senzo Mchunu, on leave of absence with immediate effect. The Minister has undertaken to give his full cooperation to the Commission to enable it to work properly. I have decided to appoint Professor Firoz Kachalia as Acting Minister of Police.
On the 6th of July, KwaZulu-Natal Provincial Commissioner Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi alleged that Mchunu had received payments from a corruption suspect. Mkhwanazi cited digital evidence such as WhatsApp messages and alleged that Mchunu had disbanded a police unit tasked with investigating politically motivated killings to protect politicians, police officers, and other people linked to a criminal syndicate. Mkhwanazi also said that more than 100 case files were taken away from the political killings task team and have not been investigated further since. Mchunu has rejected the allegations as insinuations made without evidence or due process. Mchunu is a senior figure in Ramaphosa's African National Congress party. Political analysts have said that he could potentially succeed Ramaphosa. Ramaphosa has been under growing public pressure to act swiftly over the high-profile case. Though Mchunu has been suspended, most opposition parties have criticized Ramaphosa for putting Mchunu on leave of absence instead of firing him. And amid this criticism, Ramaphosa has named his replacement. Now, his name is Firoz Kachalia. He is an Indian origin activist, a law professor, and a member of the governing ANC. Ramaphosa said that Kachalia would take up the position starting the 1st of August. Hailing from a family steeped in the struggle against apartheid, Kachalia made an active and public contribution to the opposition movement to apartheid until the transition to democracy and subsequently to the consolidation of democratic institutions. He also played an important role in the multi-party negotiations that led to the first democratic elections in 1994, which installed Nelson Mandela as president. After 1994, Kachalya held a wide range of positions in government, including as Provincial Minister for Economic Development and Community Safety. Kachalya is currently also the chairperson of the National Anti-Corruption Advisory Council. Kachalya's appointment has been welcomed by NGOs fighting corruption. South Africa has been grappling with corruption for a very long time now, and now it remains to be seen if Ramaphosa's new police minister pick does any better than his predecessors. Moving on, as the US threatens a new round of travel bans targeting dozens of African nations, Zambia has urged its citizens without valid immigration status to return home voluntarily. The Zambian government has issued a public advisory to its diaspora, particularly those residing in the United States, to consider voluntary return if they lack legal immigration status and ensure a dignified return home. The advisory referred to heightened US border controls and stressed the importance of adhering to immigration laws and remaining updated on local regulations. The move comes after US President Donald Trump last month signed a proclamation banning entry from 12 countries, 7 of which are in Africa. Trump said the measure was necessary to protect America from foreign terrorists and address national security concerns. Now, an internal State Department cable has revealed plans that this will further expand these restrictions by potentially adding 36 more countries to the ban list, and Zambia is also on the list. This is a part of a broad immigration crackdown unveiled at the start of Trump's second term, which includes mass deportations, visa denials, and restrictions on foreign student enrollments. Zambia has responded proactively, with foreign ministers stating that his government has addressed multiple US concerns, including passport security, document verification, and migration controls. The goal, officials say, is to avoid being formally sanctioned or blacklisted. Zambia's action follows similar moves by countries like Colombia and Pakistan, as more governments attempt to shield their nationals from the escalating wave of Trump-era deportations and travel restrictions. Under President Donald Trump's second term, African countries are once again facing a surge in immigration and travel curbs. Many of them reinstatements or expansions of policies originally enacted during his first term. Many Zambians in the United States are students and skilled professionals, and a travel ban could have far-reaching consequences. It could disrupt university admissions, block job opportunities, and cut off crucial remittances sent back home by the diaspora. While some countries, like Chad, have responded with tit-for-tat measures, imposing visa restrictions on US citizens, Zambia has chosen diplomacy, reaching out in search of a solution. But will its proactive approach help it dodge Trump's widening travel ban blitz? And moving on, let's shift our attention to Angola. Sub-Saharan Africa's second biggest crude oil exporter has now marked a major gas discovery. Angola has confirmed a significant offshore gas discovery off the country's coast. The landmark discovery was announced by Angola's National Oil and Gas Agency last week. It follows the drilling of the Gageria-1 well, which is also located in the Lower Congo Basin. Preliminary estimates suggest that the field may hold more than 1 trillion cubic feet of gas and up to 100 million barrels of associated condensate. Now, this marks Angola's first dedicated natural gas exploration success, boosting confidence in the basin's potential. Angola has recently been identified by the African Finance Corporation as a rising hub in Africa energy transition. This landmark gas discovery adds further momentum to the country's growing strategic importance in the sector. This discovery builds on a decade-long effort that began with the launch of the Angola LNG plant in Soyo in 2013. It aimed at reducing flaring and monetizing associated gas from offshore oil fields. Recent developments, such as the Sanaa lean gas connection and the Kuluma Mabaquero project, are key milestones in Angola's gas master plan. Now, the master plan targets a 25% share of natural gas in the national energy mix by the end of this year. The plan also aims to attract billions in investment, expand domestic power and industrial capacity, and strengthen Angola's role as a regional gas exporter. The latest gas discovery also highlights Angola's push to diversify from oil, alongside Nigeria and the Republic of Congo. It is one of sub-Saharan Africa's top oil producers, accounting for over 90% of its exports. Angola's daily oil production has varied, but it generally ranges from 1.1 to 1.3 million barrels per day. The country has also consistently been one of India's top 3 oil suppliers from sub-Saharan Africa. While oil does generate significant revenues, it is subject to large price fluctuations, creates few jobs, and rarely connects with local businesses. Which is why now Angola is actively working to reduce its heavy dependence on oil by tapping into other natural resources. This diversification includes gas, solar energy, and even tourism. As Angola seeks to diversify its oil economy, the landmark gas discovery highlights how the country can tap into its natural resources other than oil and pave the way for a better future. And that's it on the show for today. We will see you again tomorrow at the same time. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.
Straight into the roof of the net. Nice one. Straight down the middle. So a good...
Hi, you're watching First Sports. I'm Rupa Ramani. Let's get started. Right on the show today, we have to begin with cricket. The young Indian side were re-energized. They were all fire, heat, and there was battlefield at Lord's when India and England clashed over the weekend. This is going to be the turning point for the series and what to expect. Also on the show, Donald Trump made an appearance at the Club World Cup final, but he came to a lot of boos. Not just that, there were blooper moments for him, a lot of embarrassment, including the FIFA coming out of it rather exposed. We also have Wimbledon update. It wasn't just about the winners and who took home the silverware. The biggest winners of this entire Grand Slam has been the Indian celebrities. It's been India. Why have they been flocking to this Grand Slam? Has it transformed over the years to now being a red carpet gala show? What do they get? And is the new target for Wimbledon the Indian audience? But there's also more. We also bring you all the reactions from Italy making it to the World Cup, the 2026 World Cup that's supposed to be held in India, but it erupted into a meme fest with a lot of interesting memes and reactions coming in thick and fast. All of that heading your way, but first a look at the headlines on Sports 360. We're starting with cricket. Indian pacer Mohammad Siraj has been fined 15% of his match fee and handed a demerit point for an incident versus England in Lord's. Siraj gave an aggressive send-off to Ben Duckett during the 4th day of the 3rd test against England. The ICC said it was in violation of their code of conduct. The Australia versus West Indies final test is up for a thriller. After restricting Australia to 225, West Indies were bowled out for 143. Trailing in the match, Shamar Joseph picked up 2 and Alzari Joseph took 3 as the Aussies were brought down to 99 for 6 at stumps on day 2. 15 wickets fell on the day in Kingston. Windies have already lost the series 2-0. In women's cricket, India lost the final T20 match versus England by 5 wickets. Shefali Verma's 71 powered them to 167. A strong opening stand between Sophia Dunkley and Danny Wyatt-Hodge helped England